Welcome, as always, to Edessa the Dark Crusades. This scene takes place in Elysium, one of the most auspicious, grand events of Canaanite nightlife. There has been movings and shakings going on among not just Ancilla and elders, but for neonates as well. Everyone is vying for something. With the loss of the prince, the desire of praxis is becoming more and more apparent to a certain groups of Canaanites. What matters in this Elysium in particular is political favor. Who will gain praxis? Who knows? But who's going to support them to get the praxis? Those are the real winners of this event. And so, one of the men or figures is looking for praxis, is the man Al-Khatib Al-Khube, is mingling. And with that, perhaps he will get people interested in him. Or he won't. It's not his story that's really the concerning part. Let's see what Memnon and Garland think as they enjoy their Elysium.
Garland, busy with personal matters and his makeshift attempts to more or less keep the downtrodden streets as safe as possible, and memory of his past mentor, has decided to reestablish itself within the Canaanite society, or what's left of it, to be honest, in his mind, and decided to take a break and see and present himself in Elysium as a proper citizen of Edessa would. And he actually decided out of his to better express himself and think of the situation as a new beginning. He's in different wear than he normally would be. Something a bit more, let's say, presentable, a bit more effective than his typical tattered leathers and cloak. So,
That's
um,
okay if you wanted to continue.
so as he arrives, he does see a particular individual that he is aware of his presence, but he's hoping not to see him here.
Um, Memnon, this evening in the Elysium, he would have spent some time just to observe the faces, try to recognize the associations of the gathered Canaanites. Um, if Memnon was permitted to, is there more than just the hall he could explore of this building that the Elysium is
Uh,
being held in?
yes, there are private rooms uh, for for such things. There are, of course, a lot of places that are specifically kind of guarded off from, but in the hall and kind of in some of the surrounding parts, there are private rooms for people to engage in conversation and for deals. The typical Canaanite behavior.
Right, right, right. Um, well, it's not quite in, in Memnon's nature to necessarily have desire for idle talk. His own plans, he believes, rests in his gaining of knowledge, though he doesn't ignore the exploit, as there is a great wealth of knowledge amongst him in the form of his fellow Canaanites. Um, would Memnon have, aside from the keeper of the Elysium, would he have observed anyone that looks to be somewhat an authority figure? Um, Scholarly pursuits here?
Of scholarly pursuits. Scholarly pursuits. Yes, two of them actually. Both of them, ironically enough, Ruha, the man al-Khatib al-Hubei, the Imam, and his child, Azir, the Bard. Both are men who are scholarly, intellectual, and politically driven. Something that maybe Memnon's interested in. As opposed to that, well, with them as well is the Malkavians. The primogen of the Malkavians, Apollo, is also an intellectual man.
I would be interested in the Malkavian. Yeah. The name so striking as Apollo.
Yes. Okay. Garland, what are you doing this particular moment in time?
That making sure I don't frenzy on Adib and Azir, mainly. Yes.
Okay. 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 Let's go to. Let's go to dice roll. Let's see. Dice roll. Did anybody choose a dice roll?
No, I was saying that more for effect, but if I need to roll, I'll roll.
No. This is more of. We will use dice to.
Okay.
Thing.
Oh, should we make hunting rolls or for
No.
blood pools?
No, I don't believe you need to. Remember that in Elysium, you are given, you're given blood. You can easily refreshments. You can easily pick someone and feed from them and stuff like that. So you don't really need to. And it can be naturally assumed that you are that you can be, it can be naturally assumed that you're topping yourself. Since the use of disciplines has been outright banned in the Timorans Elysium.
Right. Okay, just checking.
So that. Garland, if you want to roll me a thing, if you want to avoid them, I'm assuming is probably what you want to do. If you want to roll self-control, I'm not going to stop you, but I don't want you to basically not get to see in Elysium.
Garland really hasn't because he knows that he was making his move because he's seen the letters already. And he has talked about it to elders of the city, and they made valid points. The system is down, so they're technically not considered traitors anymore. You just have a personal vendetta against them, and that's true. I don't have any type of legal recourse to do anything to them. I just dislike them greatly. And the fact that he is trying to take control, like his original plan, and there's no one really going to stop them, irritates him to no end, as he left him off on the rooftop to die and did nothing to help Wilhelm when the city got attacked. So he just sees them as very selfish bastards, which is expected of vampires, but doesn't change the fact that we're all family.
Yeah, so basically, another Saturday night for a vampire, basically being selfish. again, if you want to roll self-control, that is up to you. But I am also giving you the option to just use, to use dex stealth if you just kind of want to avoid their gaze, avoid his gaze. So basically, you can keep interacting with things, and that way you don't get to see. Is why I'm giving you those options.
Oh, excuse me.
For as you're doing that, Memnon, you are of course looking for the Malkavians. If you ask one of the servants, they will tell you that the Malkavians are currently in a private room. It is the room. It's known as the Moonlight Room. It's kind of a strange name for it, but it becomes very apparent if you head towards it.
Okay. Well, Memnon would is the room barred with a door, or is it like a curtain?
It is. It has a door, but it's the door itself is not locked. So as long as you incur some. What's your etiquette, by the way?
I don't have etiquette.
Okay, well you just fucking open the door. You don't even knock. You're just like
Okay.
just come in.
Yeah, Memnon will just walk in and said, "I heard I can find those of the Malkavians here. Is that right?"
Yes. Let me get. Yes. Currently, as you come in, very nice. Very nice for you, Garland. You are effectively avoiding the gaze of Adkatiba Hube Azir. The other two Bruja, Azir's childer, Adu Orsiri, and the childer of Wilhelm, Judas Costargo, are communicating, basically talking to themselves away from the elders about something. Who knows? But for Memnon, as you ask about the Malkavians, you see roughly three people there. One of them is a man who is Greek, a Grecian man. He is dressed very much like how he is in this picture. He stands very tall. He's not like physically tall. He's about roughly the size of a like 5'7", 5'8", but he seems to stand taller. He is kind of sitting on this very nicely produced chair, and there are two other people. One is a woman, and the other is another gentleman with very long beard.
So someone confirms that he's in the right place. Yes.
Yes, this gentleman who, as you say that, he goes, "Yes, who is it that speaks?"
I am Memnon of Clan Lasombra. I
Ah,
heard.
yes, come and sit if you wish to discuss. If you have so already opened the door. He doesn't say it like he's being like he's not saying it like you're being rude for opening the door. He's just like basically just come in.
Okay. Memnon will do that. Maybe just giving the door a swing behind him to close. He'll approach the man. He'll say, "I heard that the primogen of the Malkavians was a scholarly man, a learned man. I wish to see this man for myself."
As you speak of for the learned man, the man who spoke to you says, Indeed, I am the learned man. If you are, that is the person you are looking for. But I mean, truly, what is a learned man? Could not, and he touches the shoulder of the person next to him. Would not my friend here, Gregory Helmsmith, would he not be considered a learned man for the fact that he earns his trade and has learned his trade? Is he not a learned man for doing so? Or for my associate here, Bella Monteado, a woman who has learned the concoction of chemistry to produce close to the ambrosia nectar of the gods. Is she not then a learned person?
Well, I suppose that it was your reputation that preceded you and the others. Had I known that so many of those in your company and of your blood were of such high wisdom, I would have came to see you all.
Uh, he chuckles and he goes, "You are a man who is looking for enlightenment. You are seeking it now. That is more than welcome here. I am Apollo, Primogen of the Malkavians of Edessa. You said your name is Memnon of the La Sombra. Yes. Come, sit. Please, what is it that you wish to discuss with us?"
I am a tradesman, like your friend Gregory here, smith that works iron and steel, metals of the earth. I wish to learn its secrets, how to purify it, improve it, to learn of the fires that it takes to forge it.
Ah, you seek to be an alchemist, then? Hmm.
Is that the proper discipline then?
Well, for one to understand the properties of that which comes from the ground and that which burns and that which is from the waters deep and those that produce the coldest airs, then I would say yes, you wish to learn alchemy, to learn the manipulation of the physical world and all of its matters.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure you can see why someone of my blood may just be inclined, the gifts we have, to manipulate the matter of darkness itself. I seek to hold that same power in my hand.
Yes, of that I can assuredly understand. He kind of breathes deep and he says, to understand alchemy, to understand the very essence of the elements, one must understand what the body itself, this, and he points to his body itself. What is the body in correlation to the elements?
Should I roll something for that?
Yes,
He's being cryptic.
he is. I would say, for all intents and purposes, do you have any occult?
Yes, I do.
Roll your intelligence occult.
What's the dice room we are in?
Or number two.
This is gonna take a minute to load. Do you want to switch to Garland real quick?
Certainly. Garland. What is it that you're looking to do aside from avoiding, of course, Azir and uh, Al Khatib's gaze? Who is it that you're wanting to talk with, to discuss things with? Daryl.
Sorry about that. I forgot I muted myself on 2 layers. There we go. I said, seeing Osuri and Judas, he would approach them.
Okay. I would. Uh, as you move, Judas is the first to nod at your presence.
And he'll nod an acknowledgement back. So, and says, "My dear cousins, it's good to see you tonight." And he looks over to Osiri, and he'll bow a bit more deeply to her.
As you bow towards Siri, she gives you a very soft kind of peck upon the cheeks as she kind of brings her head up and she goes, "My dear Garland, you are a stranger here in the city, it seems. I have not had a chance to see you in quite a very long time.
He
If,
smiled.
by the way, if someone can share the live link in chat, that would be appreciated. Aside from that, please, Garland, continue.
He will smile softly to her, and he simply says, I've just been hopelessly tied up with many situations of late. I honestly meant to talk to you earlier, dear cousin, but just plans and plans and obligation after obligation."
And that seems to be the case with you, my dear. But, well, one must always keep themselves busy, after all. What with the loss of the prince and of the sheriff, we must all keep ourselves moving and active. It is the only way to keep things going. Is that not right, uh, my dear Judas? And Judas simply nods his head.
So that's it. And he kind of has a bit of a solemn look on his face. Yes, the blights upon Edessa have been rather devastating, to be honest. I surely hope nothing has affected was it, your supplies too greatly.
Judas simply shakes his head. He was never really one for speaking much. Or Siri, or Siri is the opposite. She tends to talk too much, and she goes on. The plague was completely a problem for me and my customers. It was honestly quite boring to be out when there was no one to come in and enjoy the sweet warmth of Osiris' company and friendship. But thankfully, with the removal of the plague rats and the winding down of this plague, many people are returning, many people are drinking and dancing, and many are enjoying Osiris' girls and her company. So Osiris is very happy now.
So that's excellent, my dear cousin. I said, I have unfortunately lost a few people due to the plague. It has been uncomfortable. They may have been, that they may have had their places. They may have had their moments, but they're still close friends of mine. They'll also be greatly missed.
As it is with such plague, it is a tragedy to lose the people close to us. That is why we, as a clan, must keep ourselves together, keep ourselves strong.
Uh,
And sorry, and a young gentleman kind of comes as well to Orsiri, and he goes, "My sister is, as always, very correct in her words. Garlo."
I do not recognize this particular face.
He simply bows his head. "Forgive me, I have been away a very long time. My name is Adu. A healer, a doctor. I had been traveling to the more remote places of Edessa's ways in small towns to try and help with the plague. It was, while we talk of the pains and sufferings here within the walls, out there it was far worse."
And he simply nods to that. Like I see. Well, I hope all your endeavors were fruitful at least.
It took many, many months, much, much months, but Adu has returned to Edessa. He has returned to perhaps help to keep the city well again, keep it good. And as the Bruja little fellows are all talking, let us travel back to Memnon with his roll, very very good roll with was that three successes? Yes, very nice. As as you think it over, Memnon, as you think what he means by the body, you know that he's talking about how the body, at least in the concept of this time, is often referred to with the humors or with bodily functions, bile, phlegm, those sorts of things.
Mhm.
So, as you kind of think about what is the body made of, essentially he's telling you that the body is made up of the elements, I guess is how I would put it.
Right. Okay. Um, Memnon would try to convey understanding. Um, with would it be fair to say that he can kind of relate as above, so below, as without, so within?
As you say that, he nods. Apollo nods his head. Yes, exactly that, my friend. The elements, the various concoctions and things that are created and move throughout the world are very much the parts of ourselves. Do we do they move us or do we move them? If you understand that, you're already a step closer to understanding the alchemy.
Yeah, you would see Memnon like kind of look away as he really deeply contemplates this. Um, hmm.
And
So, mm-mm.
no, please, please.
And he shares this reflection. So, it would be fair to say that power, in the sense of the blow that directs a smith's hammer upon the blade, it is as much to do with the strength in his arms as with what he has put in the body. For I, still a man, the strength I take from the food I eat, and as a Canaanite I am, so too from the blood I share.
As you say that, you see a smile. Uh, not like a happy smile, more like a smile of like a
Hmm.
teacher who sees that his student is learning, that he's getting the message. Yes, exactly that. We, even though we do not eat or drink any longer, the blood, vitae, that which moves through our very bodies and keeps these bodies moving, we treat that as our food. Thus, it acts how it does upon our very limbs. We break the blood down to its essential, the essential parts, because it is the essential parts that would allow a Canaanite to move, talk, to see, to smile, and everything else that we do within it. Without understanding this, then he shrugs his shoulders and he goes, then that person is lost, lost to the beast within, lost to the whims of the gods themselves. The gods direct a man towards his fate, but it is up to the man to decide how fate greets him. That is something that not even the gods can forsake.
Hmm. Um, Memnon is did I say Memnon took a seat or that he was still standing?
I believe you said he was still standing.
Okay.
You might,
Mhm.
you might want to take a seat because this shit's blowing his mind.
Okay. Yeah. He's actually gonna like take a seat, like at his feet. Like I guess because of the character I have for your overlay, I'm imagining that he's sitting down still, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So yeah. Um, yeah. Memnon would definitely take a seat at his feet on the floor, and he would you would notice how he keeps referencing the gods, in the plural sense. So, you would ask, Apollo, uh, so how, if I may ask, do you find yourself in such a time of monotony, in the presence of separate fates, clamoring that there is one?
He goes, Fates are like threads, threads in a tapestry, much like the tapestry here within the Elysium itself. A beautiful thing, yes, but it is made of interwoven lines and cloth of various sizes, shapes, colors, and forms to create something, a testament, perhaps, to the actions of Timoran and those who control it. But the thing with threads is that if you cut a singular thread, oftentimes it is not noticeable. But if you cut a fault line of thread, then the tapestry falls apart and can no longer be woven again. That is fate. There are many different threads that define it, that you can weave into your personal tapestry. But once the removal of a fault line has been cut, has been severed, or burned away, your time is lost. Death, oblivion. Oblivion is the only natural end to all things, even us.
I suppose it is a poignant statement of fate how we are consumed by our own hungers often.
To be consumed by our hungers is, as it is with all things, a natural element. Man was, of course, made in the image of the gods, and the gods were primal beings who drank and ate and fought and loved and felt everything with a deep passion and a complete disregard of humanity. But yet you worship the gods because to not do so brings the tempest upon your head. That is the essential life points, the essential stories that define Canaanite life.
And do you find it easy to move about in this place where such philosophies may be taken as heresy or blasphemy? I too come from a place that I find these gods in their singular way alien. Wait, correction, out of character. I don't even know if that word exists in this kind of form in this time. So I'll say foreign.
Alien would probably work as well, because alien means foreign.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But, yeah, that's what he asks Apollo.
He goes, "It is difficult. That I will not lie about. It is incredibly so. The usages of the one being, eternal or otherwise, causes grave concern among those who have worshipped the many gods, of the many ethereal. no one who has, perhaps it is because we Canaanites understand that we are, in our own ways, beyond such concepts of gods and singular beings outside of ourselves, that none has sought to destroy me for my views. Of course, when it comes to a Malkavian, it is these multiple parts that create the most dangerous combinations, and thus there is no way to expect what we will do. Plus, sight. Sight beyond that which we see here, that which looks beyond all things, deep into the avoiding abyss. That is why Malkavians like myself continue our existence here.
The subtlety of your strengths is as the fear of the dark. What goes unseen, mind can imagine a greater horror.
Yes, and I have seen many horrors, and I dare not elaborate on them. And as this happens, we move to Garland. Garland,
Yes.
yes, you, as you continue to talk and joke and enjoy the company of the clanmates that you don't get to socialize with as much as you want to, I should say. Very, very sad. A gentleman that you may remember, maybe, slowly bumps into you on the back.
And when I turn, my eyes immediately narrow, and the breeze that typically shifts around me gets colder than it normally does.
The gentleman kind of rubs on his kind of tattered clothing. You would think that in such a place that the tapestries would be much warmer. What is it about La Sambra that keeps them so cold? Or perhaps someone has a cold heart, as he says to Garland.
And he looks at him and he just simply states, "We all have cold hearts. Let's not lie to ourselves."
Ooh, so dramatic, my friend. Yes, I guess by the terms of our being, we are indeed cold-hearted creatures, being that our hearts do not beat. But does that mean that we have to be cold-hearted to each other? Now that is the interesting question. I have lived on the streets my life, and I understand people. People like you, sir, are perhaps too honest for their own survival.
I like to see myself as I stand. I stand strong in my establishments compared to others.
And as you say that, hold on, I gotta get, here we go. As you say that, another voice comes and he says, "Is that truly what you believe, Garland? Then the lessons of the sheriff were not lost with his death. Oh, if only the sheriff had survived the attack. He was a great man, a man who served Edessa strong and was a good companion to the very end. He served God well."
And he doesn't turn to the voice, but he says, "Yes, he was he was a good man and a loyal member of Edessa. It was a shame that not all was there to hopefully avoid his demise." But,
That unfortunately is, well, that is in the past, dear Garden. We must look to the future. The sheriff would not want, he would not desire for us to linger in grief of his passing, much like the prince would not either. Both of them would understand that in such situations as these, that order must be restored, that new hands must take the helms, who must take the swords, who must defend Edessa to make it shine again. That is what the prince and the sheriff would want above all things.
he's quiet for a moment, but he finally responds. The sheriff wanted order and prosperity for the city, and I will respect his wishes to do so. I simply hope that there are no underlining complications to deter such a thing amongst the city.
I would certainly hope as well. The with the way of the Ventru's speech, the roughly nights ago, one would already see that there is shaky. There's already shaking foundations for these, uh, for their chances. Whoever the people choose, well, they will know who it is. And he turns to look, and you already know who he's looking at. Quite easy. But before we do that, whoosh, let us go back to Memnon. Memnon, is there anything else that which you wish to discuss with the Malkavians?
Um, yeah. I mean, he would try to learn if there was a place of study in Edessa where that would be like Elysium there, or at least a common grounds.
Mm, I believe there are. I believe there's a library, but I'm not entirely sure.
Like
I will.
like a public library? Because I know there is the study in the barracks. So
Yes, but that's kind of more like military, or like
Yeah.
how it's more kind of like military like stuff. I
Well, I
think
mean, well, any place that we as Canaanites could access. He's not just asking in general, like general libraries, but places that Canaanites can access.
let me see. Okay, I if anything, if you're looking for a library, I'm going to assume that if you go to uh, either the Prophets Quarter or the Prophets Quarter, I'm fairly certain has a library. I'm checking.
Mhm.
I think that place does have a library.
Okay, okay. Um, Memnon would, after getting that information, Memnon would ask Apollo about the relationship between Clan Lasombra and Malkavian, the general state of it.
Uh, uh, he says of the Lasombra and the Malkavians, he goes, the Lasombra they are people of honor and of duty. They feel that they are like men upon a ship, that they are the helmsmen, they are the captains. They must steer this vessel, of which our society, they are to make sure that it does not encounter the rocky seas, that it is meant to feel that there are calm waters and that we will find a new land. But that is only a part of it. The Lasombra are, as well as captains, also conquerors, also warlords. They are men who seek not only the reins to control, but the blade in which to stab. They are men who are eager for new horizons. For the Malkavian, we are the elusive. We are the mirror that shows not just of ourselves, but of the other clans. We see beyond even their comprehension. Even then, the way that the mirror reflects our desires, breaks and shatters and moves to different places as if we are tumbling within a hurricane. That is our relationship.
Um, Memnon tries to, but he'll hold on to his words, trying to discern what exactly Apollo, beyond, I guess, what he's stating as their not just their relationship to each other, but possibly interaction. Um, yeah, he'll just ask if there's possibly any way he, as a smith, could assist Apollo, offering, you know, in exchange for maybe some tutelage. There's some service he could provide him.
The Malkavians, Apollo thinks for a moment, and he goes, "If you wish tutelage of myself, that is no issue on my end. As for compensation, you are a smith, as you said. Perhaps," and he looks to the woman, Bella, and he goes, "Perhaps you can assist with an issue. Our youngest, one is named Garnet, the other Mina. They are." He kind of gives a stern smile, and he goes, "They are exemplary Malkavians. Mina especially. I wish for you to, with the knowledge that is given to you, to make her," and he thinks for a moment, "to make her a blade, not one made for, not defense per se, a dagger that is meant to alleviate the senses, a blade that is meant to harm senses. Perhaps that is too much of an order for a smith of your caliber, but if you were to provide such a meager thing, that in and of itself is already worth its weight in my tutelage."
And he said a blade that was one to alleviate the senses with. Is that what he said?
Yeah, like basically, he doesn't want a blade that's made for like fighting with.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to be kind of more of like a ceremonial or kind of something like that kind of blade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Memnon will say, yes, that would be a problem at all. Not, not all steel be bathed in blood.
No, I believe that is very true. And you are a smith of. And he kind of looks at you as if he's kind of looking beyond you a little bit. And you are a smith of quite astounding caliber. Perhaps yourself and Gregory can assist in this matter, or you can use it as competition. Whichever the case may be, that is my task of you, is to make a blade. If you make it to compete against Gregory, that is of your own volition.
Memnon nods. Very well. And I guess he would turn to look at Gregory and just extend him a hand. I'm sorry, hold on one sec, guys.
Oh, well, while he's doing that, Garland, it's that guy, that guy.
Like Gregory or Al Qadib? Because
This
I've met
guy.
Gregory before. Yeah, Al Qadib. I simply said I simply say nothing to him.
He he simply smiles at you as you say nothing to him. He goes, "Ah, my friend Garland, you have you have returned. It seems a strong man. I can see it there in your eyes. You look displeased. Did perhaps did perhaps the words of the Ventru not sway you as they thought they would? That is the problem with Ventru. They are not created enough to sway the people.
And again, he simply says nothing.
And again, he simply smiles at you. Uh, and he goes, "Your words, my friend, do not need to be spoken. I know them already. I feel them in your eyes. Your eyes tell me all that you need to tell." And he simply places he basically goes to kiss your cheeks
As he
as
approaches me, I take a step back.
and he again looks at you, says he says very softly, very softly, "Then I am Praxis. You will be made to kneel. You will be made to submit to God's word." And after he
And in
does,
response to that, I was like, and you just said the Ventru weren't creative.
he laughs rather heartily, and he goes, "They are not Carlos de Cervantes, but am, I am he who speaks from the book of God's love. I know how to sway." And he then leaves the small little group of the Gruha and looks to converse and speak. His personality seems uh, very two-faced, is how I would say it. As after he has said that to you, he's speaking warmly and kindly to uh, the servants and other kindred that are within that area.
Garland will simply look to um the neonates within this place and simply responds, and he says it in Spanish, and mainly because I don't want to butcher this pronunciation. Um, says, "Raise crows, and they'll pick out your eyes." As I begin, and as I begin to separate myself, as I bow slightly to everybody, other neonates.
As you as you as you go to leave, uh, someone you might remember her. Let's see. Maybe you remember her. I don't know. Do you remember her? Maybe.
She's a little bit different than before, but I think she hit me really hard in the face once.
Yes, yes, she did. uh, she, uh, as you're walking away, speaks. "Garland, come and talk with me."
And he turns, and the most, thin as glass, a hollow smile on his face. Says, "Unfortunately, I'm rather busy today. There are some other people I must meet."
Uh, as you say that, the woman's eyes kind of squint at you as you go somewhere else. Seems some people that who you don't seem to like very much seem very poignant and wanting to talk to you. I wonder why. I wonder why. As Memnon, I'm assuming, returns.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, yes, you want to talk to Gregory. This is Gregory, right here, this fellow.
Okay. Yes, hands hand to Gregory. Um, asks him, are you a blacksmith like myself?
He uh, he takes your hand, and you can feel very much the rough skin of his works, of his hands, and he goes, I make various things, tools, weaponry, that which man needs to survive, I produce.
Well, it's good to meet you, fellow man of both the blood and the craft. Very rare. I thought I'd be the only one here.
There are many types of the blood, my fellow smith. Tell me, do you have your own forge, or are you of the smithing guild?
I'm operating out of the Smith's Guild. Someone has requisitioned my talents. Give me a place there.
He nods and he goes, for the sake of your growth as a smith, and from one to another, I will say this. Make sure that you do not allow the holes to bind you to their methods. When one smith works on his own, away from the judgmental eyes of the holes, he finds clarity. He finds himself among the forge and the anvil and the hammer.
Those are some very wise words, Gregory. A pursuit that I will undertake eventually. Time is right. I hope in the future you and I could possibly work together. Assistance for assistance. I would love to see your forge and how you've constructed it. I've wondered if perhaps there was some way to contain the fire, lest we harm ourselves, to quicken our work and our own basic survival.
He nods his head. Perhaps I can show you. We shall have to say.
Very well, Gregory. I hope to see you all, he says to Malkavians, in the hall. Enjoy your Elysium.
And
Mhm.
no, it's fine. Just one more milking. There we go. She smiles as you're getting along so well with Gregory. It's actually quite hard for him and Apollo. Very they're socially awkward at times. She's not. She's very open, and she goes, "That is wonderful to hear. That you're becoming such friends with us, and hopefully you can come to my cavern, the cask of Amontillado. It is a beautiful place. You will find plenty of men there that are in need of your smithing. I can assure you that it is a very popular place among soldiers and the guard."
Thank you for your invite. Did he catch her name?
Yes, her name is Bella.
Uh, Thank you for your invite, Bella. I will pay you the respect and patron your tavern one of these nights soon.
She smiles and goes, "That will be wonderful to hear." And I'm assuming that Memnon uh, leaves the room.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So as you do that, uh, perhaps we can use this as an opportunity for. Has Garland met Memnon? I don't think so. That would be a good opportunity for you to.
So I suppose Memnon is just meandering through the halls, trying to find his way back.
Yes, very much so. Garland, what are you doing as you seek to get away from these Canaanites who don't seem to like you very much?
I
Or
I simply separate myself and ooh, excuse me. Um, gather refreshments and the mortal kind, as he can still partake. They um, and simply goes for any type of exotic sweet wines, as he partakes and pulls out a single coin and he begins doing. There's a I forgot the exact term, but I believe it's called the mage's coin trick, as he kind of just sifts on the coin through his fingers deftly, almost almost seeming like the coin simply reappears and vanishes in between his fingers. He does it so cleanly, and just does extra little party tricks with one of his hands as he drinks with the other, annoyed and contemplating what his next move is at a particular table. The breeze around him colder than it normally is, as the ghouls should not be too disturbed by it, or Canites. If there was any regular mortals, they would feel rather uncomfortable.
I suppose Memnon would stop for a refreshment after all that talking, and perhaps he just aimlessly sits at any table that is open to him. Um, his gaze following this sudden chill, I suppose it would fall on Garland. And Garland just being there, and Memnon's own social lack of graces, would probably just maybe just raise his cup and as a way to say, "I see you, I recognize you."
As the action of acknowledgement reaches his attention, he stops the coin in between his middle and index finger and nods solemnly towards the individual and raises his cup as well. But as he takes more information about this person, he notices he hasn't met this person before, and he'll begin approaching him. You seem new to the city, as he takes another drink from the cup.
That I am,
Hmm.
responds.
You're a brave man. Though things have calmed down, I would not say is the most friendliest place to be at the moment. As he puts the coin back into one of his pockets and presents his hand. Said Garland Cervantes.
He takes his hand. He'll say, "They call me Memnon."
A pleasure to meet you, Memnon.
The same.
So, pray tell, if you are within Edessa's walls, I can only assume a mere traveler, possibly a merchant.
A little bit of both. I've traveled from afar. I've come to ply craft I am skilled in. A way to make coin, a way to further ends.
Yeah. He nods to that. Well, I wish the best for your endeavors. And if for some reason you would need something to be moved quickly and quietly, so, basically a courier within Edessa.
Hmm. A courier. That is an excellent trade. Surely there must have been times you've been the proprietor of a very special something.
I have dealt with many invaluable objects and knowledge that need to be moved quickly. I take great pride in that.
Pride in one's skill is all we have. I could, if you are in need, could see that any weapons, tools, perhaps sharpened, kept in well working condition, if you have the need.
And he actually nods to that. I would appreciate that. My typical shops I go to, I don't always feel that they give you the best prices. Hopefully, we can strike a deal.
I'm
And
sure we can.
if you were need more or less need someone to test your particular crafts, I'd be more than willing to help.
Indeed, this is quite a helpful city. How long have you been here?
No more than a few years, to be honest.
And what is this city like when it is not friendly and it is not helpful?
It is, I would say, it is no different than as he kind of looks out, like looking past the walls of the Elysium himself. No different than the Wildlands itself. There are the haves and the have-nots when the city is not as pleasant, and there is the prey and the predator.
What use are walls if the predators are within?
He kind of shrugs his shoulder. The game is always the same, it's just a different venue.
I'd agree to that.
I'd simply say just mind your words and mind your manners. I've noticed this on this city, though some of those elements have left, can be rather sensitive.
I have no doubt that the weight of history and the prides of all the city's accomplishments and the denizens therein are at most at the forefront of their minds. Stress is weigh heavy on the crown, can it not?
So, so if the king can't support his crown, maybe he doesn't deserve it.
Hmm. Perhaps.
But, but let's not bound ourselves with such speak. This is a time of peace and celebration.
Indeed, it is. Let the time be spent regaling in our own existence, and that we still are here.
And he takes a deep drink from that with that statement. So, Nimnon, outside of the craft yourself, how do you disperse the time?
Study. I seek to understand the science behind the forge, steel.
So a man of study and knowledge then. I say my skills in those nature are more pragmatic. So I have a tendency to be rather eclectic when it comes to languages and different values and history of objects. No, though I have been trying to improve my skill but, with the arts.
I've always believed so long as one has the ambition and the cunning, any pursuit is but a stepping stone.
Yeah. It's like he nods at that. But, so, some would say that the journey holds much mysteries and treasures. Without a proper destination, one journeys forever.
It serves no one any good. Aimless wandering, time wasted, even if we, our own selves, are not as constrained.
I do agree with that. Without proper goals, one can lose sight of what they really want.
Memnon nods to that. Indeed. And our goals, how much resistance will come against them, you can tell at the moment. But it is that fight, that climb towards them, that makes the journey worth its while.
He nods to that. So he says it's the empty stomach that appreciates the meal.
Indeed. And how very sated men can get, and how lazy they can often be.
Well, a full belly is a happy one as well. So, and with happiness comes complacency, unfortunately.
Exactly. It is, in my opinion, then, that sometimes the best pursuit is in the maintaining of one's duty, whatever or vow one has ever made.
I do agree in that statement. Without responsibility, said idle hands get unusually rowdy.
I've noticed that there are many poor in the city. Such idle hands and empty bellies be a cause for despair. Make men turn back to the feral creatures outside of their walls.
That they do. Well, they see themselves as victims and not, which they may be, but you're only a slave to what you allow yourself to be to. I do not say these words. I do not say these words to be harsh or to take the pain of others lightly. But I have been through hardships and I have moved on from them. They can too. They just simply need the right opportunity.
And what opportunity could there be for them? There is much work that can be done, could be done. Necessarily, they need the gold or whatever that represents, food, shelter, in exchange for their labor. But who would all pay for it?
Those with high ambitions or kindly hearts.
Yes, the charitable fathers of the church. Hmm. Forgive me. I have some doubts of their own piety. How can such flamboyant and extravagances clutter their churches, and yet the weak and poor remain in such a desperate state?
There's only so much to go around, and those who choose to have typically want to keep what they have, which is understandable. But in that same moment, they need to realize that they are, in the case, they are the haves, and there are more have-nots.
It's very easy for those in their position to simply make the arithmetic. Those who have can end up having not if they only took it.
The line is precariously thin, as far as I can tell, but due to that, it is hard to see when you cross it.
Here is to the, and he holds up his cup or goblet, whatever fashion it is. Um, Here's to the small folk of Edessa. May the gods bless them. Poor bastards.
He nods solemnly to that. But he doesn't drink, but he does acknowledge it. It was good speaking to you, man. As he places the glass or the cup on the table. But I must continue um, my rounds for tonight. But it was good to take a break from the typical duties.
It was good meeting you too. I hope your travels fare you well.
and I hope that your tools treat you the best. Good evening.
And yeah, Memnon will finish his drink and just perhaps observe the masses of Canaanites going to and fro. Evan, have you returned to us?
Yes. Goodness. Is there anything else?
I think that was good.
So I believe this can end this little piece of Illusion. So thank you for watching and for people for playing, and let's see how deep political maneuvers go in Edessa, the Dark Crusades.